Hey YouTube, Buddha here. Welcome to another decklist video of mine. If you don't have time for all of the details, there is a timeline in the description where you can skip straight to the replays and perhaps come back to this section of the video when you have more time. However, I do recommend staying here for the details because there is a method to this madness I'm about to show you. This is my deck of the year, the strongest deck I've built in Duel Links, quite possibly. There was a plant deck I made too back then, but off topic. So this is a Thunder Dragon deck that does not use Levianeer. And as you can see, this is the fourth version of the deck. I actually used it back when the baggy sleeves and the Levianeer build was really popping. If you're new to Duel Links, you probably don't know what I'm talking about here. But it's actually what got Dragondark and Gold Sarcophagus banned. But the build I'm going to show you today doesn't use them at all. I've gotten raving success with this deck. I've never used Levianeer with it, even though I have 2 copies, but I didn't really need it because I opted for a more controlled variant using a Crystron package. Now before I get into core cards and combos here, a couple of things I want to go over real fast. Firstly, I'd like to give a major shout out to GadgetBug for writing the post-ban list Thunder Dragon guide you can find on Duel Links meta. I read that guide way back when, before the nerf even took place, like I said, during the baggy sleeves era, and it served as a foundational knowledge base. It's how I was able to build the first version of this deck. It has since evolved over time. It is something unique to me. Perhaps other people probably have thought about this. It's even mentioned in GadgetBug's guide. But the reason I offer that to you, and I'm going to leave a link in the description, is because Thunder Dragons can be played a number of ways. Please understand that Thunder Dragons are not limited to the Chaos build Levianeer. They are not limited to the Crystron package. Sure, check out what I have to say here, check out my build and how I use it, but perhaps develop your own style over time. Lastly, this is not a guide on how to play Thunder Dragons in general. This is a guide on how I've been playing Thunder Dragons. So you may pick up a tip or two, but if you want to pick up the archetype entirely and build something entirely different, I recommend checking out that guide I've recommended. Okay, into the meat and potatoes. Thunder Dragondark has a dual effect along with Thunder Dragonhawk and Thunder Dragonroar. Now the dual effects are either discard effects, Thunder Dragondark's quick play, or a secondary effect that's activated when the monster is either sent from the field to the graveyard or banished. Now Thunder Dragondark, when discarded, can search another copy of Thunder Dragondark from the deck. That can be done on your opponent's turn. I'm only running 2 of these instead of 3 because I'm actually running a 20 card build, as you can see, and 3 Thunder Dragondarks are just too many. I don't want more than 1 in my hand usually, and you'll see here in a bit, if you don't already know, why I want the Thunder Dragondark in my hand. This is probably my favorite out of the 3, out of Hawk and Roar, mostly because it gets that search. Its secondary effect, when it's sent from the field to the graveyard or banished, you can search any Thunder Dragon card from your deck. That's including the trap card. It's including Thunder Dragonduo. Thunder Dragondark is excellent because it can be recycled using Hawk's effect. Hawk, when discarded, can actually bring any Thunder Dragon monster back from the graveyard or banish pile onto the field. It special summons them. Its secondary effect is a magical mallet effect, which allows you to send any number of cards from your hand back into the deck and draw that same number of cards. I don't use this effect very often unless I'm in trouble. For example, if I use its effect on my opponent's turn, its secondary effect, I would try to get a Karibo into my hand, or perhaps on my turn, I'm shitting bricks or something and I need to replenish my hand, then I would use Hawk's effect for that. The way I would use its effect on my opponent's turn, I'll explain in a little bit, because as many of you know, Crystrons can synchro summon on the opponent's turn. Thunder Dragonroar is incredible. Your primary beat stick. It has a great secondary effect that when it's sent from the field to the graveyard or banished, then you can special summon any other Thunder Dragon monster from your deck, of course excluding Thunder Dragonduo because it has to be summoned another way. Thunder Dragonroar's discarding effect allows you to retrieve any Thunder Dragon card from the banish pile or the graveyard and bring it back to your hand. So that's really good if your Thunder Dragon's 100 Thunders gets Cosmic Cycloned. Thunder Dragonroar is an excellent card. That's why I run it at 3 copies. It's also what I use to get into the Scrap Dragon. That's my only level 8 Synchro boss in this deck. Thunder Dragonroar is great. It's also what I banish most of the time when I'm using the Gold Sarcophagus, especially when I was running 2. But I'm going to get back onto that in a bit here. Thunder Dragonduo. This is the primary boss of the deck. It's also a recycler and a searcher if it manages to destroy a monster by battle. It has some unique effects, so we're going to slow it down a bit here and actually look at this card and realize how valuable it is. First off, you can special summon it by banishing 1 light and 1 dark monster from your graveyard. If any monster effect is activated from the hand, it gains 300 attack until the end of the turn. If it destroys a monster by battle, you can banish 1 card from your grave and add a thunder monster from your deck to your hand. Recognize it says thunder monster here, not necessarily a thunder dragon monster. So back when I was running Watt Fox in an earlier build, you can actually search the Watt Fox with this effect right here. Really cool stuff right there. Something to keep in mind when possibly creating your own Thunder Dragon build. Lastly, it has a recycling effect. And at your opponent's end phase, you can target one of your banished cards and place it on the top or bottom of the deck. That is an incredible effect, and actually why your opponent will target Thunder Dragonduo first with their card effects and their monsters, because they don't want you to recycle your card. Because let's say I banished Forbidden Lance after attacking a monster and destroying it by battle. I banished Forbidden Lance to search another Hawk from my deck, and I'm facing the Dark Magician. They don't want me to recycle this Forbidden Lance. Okay, something to note there. Thunder Dragon is Thunder Dragonduo. It's how you're gonna swarm the field because of its effect in conjunction with Thunder Dragondark and Thunder Dragonhawk, especially Gold Sarcophagus. You can get OTKs turn 2 just with those cards alone. I'll go into those combos here in a little bit here. But my point is, Thunder Dragonduo, without this card, the deck would lose a lot of offensive prowess, and also the ability to recover using its recycling effect. Thunder Dragon's 100 Thunders wraps up core cards for this deck. I really like this card because it can special summon any Thunder Dragon from the graveyard. And if there's another Thunder Dragon in the graveyard with the same name, then I can special summon those too. So essentially, like if I have 3 Dragonroar in the graveyard and 3 open monster spaces and I use this trap card, I can summon all 3 of them. Also, if I have summoned Thunder Dragonduo originally by banishing 1 light and 1 dark monster from the graveyard, as it says, it must first be special summoned. If it says that, then I can raise it using the 100 Thunders or Hawk's effect if I've already summoned it properly the first time. There's a lot of cards that say that. Must first be special summoned. With my Magnet deck, I revived my Berserkion using Super Team Buddy Force because I first summoned him by banishing the cards I needed to banish to summon him. Something to note. This card does have a drawback though, and it actually catches me off guard sometimes, like when I get a little one-track minded. When you do raise a Thunder Dragon from the graveyard using this card, as long as that Thunder Dragon is on the field, you can only special summon Thunder type monsters. So like let's say I raise a Thunder Dragonroar using this card here, that following turn I can't use Crystron Quan to synchro summon into Zeta, for example. Not as long as the 1 monster that was the 1, 2, or 3 monsters that were summoned by this card are still on the field. So you'll definitely want to use this for your swarm. You want to use it to save your butt, you know, throw a Dragonroar onto the field as a floater if you need to stall a little bit until your next turn. But for the most part, this card is fantastic. It's good for defense or offense. There are times that, you know, I've got 1 attack in and it wasn't quite enough, and I was able to flip this card in the battle phase and bring, you know, 2 Dragonroars to the field to finish things off. Great card. Okay, moving on into starters here, of course, starting with Gold Sarcophagus, a card I miss running 3 copies of. This card is a excellent starter if you draw it on turn 1. It's fantastic. Most of the time, I'm going to be using this to banish off the Dragonroar, to maybe bring a Dragondark onto the field to use for a synchro summon, or bring it to the field to tribute summon for another Dragonroar to activate its effect and put a Hawk into my hand if I don't already have it, or Thunder Dragonduo if I already have Hawk in my hand. This card is excellent to draw at the beginning. Now, of course, I was running 2 copies of this with the Crystron Citree, but after that brand new nerf that put Citree at 2, I had to lose a gold sarcophagus in the end. When I go into the Crystron package here, I'll explain more about the way I used it this month to COG. But this is the most recent build that I have. It's probably going to be the most successful if I'm going to continue with this deck. Pretty sure I can COG in January with it too, but I want to try the magnets or something different. As I said, I have a lot of success with this deck already this year, and I want to test my skills by trying something different. Gold Sarcophagus is not limited to being used with Thunder Dragonroar. You can also use it to throw out Thunder Dragondark. Let's say you need Thunder Dragonduo into your hand immediately, or Thunder Dragonhawk. You don't really want to put a Thunder Dragondark onto the field, or you know, there could be other scenarios. For example, I remember there was one time where I used a Gold Sarcophagus actually to banish Thunder Dragonduo, so I can retrieve it using the Thunder Dragonroar in my hand, discarding it, retrieving Thunder Dragonduo into my hand, and banishing a light and dark monster to summon it, use Thunder Dragondark's effect to get 100 Thunders into my hand. Okay, that's just another way you can use it there. Well, Sarcophagus, you can also throw out, you know, one of your little tuners here. Like, let's say you know you're going to need 1 in 2 turns, or that you may even be able to last a couple of turns, and by then, you know, you're guaranteed a tuner in your hand. A few times I've used it for that too, but for the most part, I use it to throw out a Thunder Dragonroar because that's really what starts the engine with Thunder Dragons. Now, originally with the first build, I was only using Crystron Quan, but then Gold Sarcophagus and Thunder Dragondark got moved over to 3. And I was forced to make a decision between Thunder Dragondark and Gold Sarcophagus. And of course, if you're going to be using the Thunder Dragon engine, you're going to need Dragondark. And I didn't really like mixing the two. I mean, I'm mixing the two now because I'm a lot more experienced with this build. But at the time, Thystvern, that's when I discovered this card. This is a great starter because with its original effect, it can destroy itself or any other card on the field, usually itself, to bring either Crystron Quan or Crystron Citree onto the field. Now, once Quan is on the field, if I have Thunder Dragonroar, Thunder Dragondark, or Hawk in my hand, preferably either Dark or Roar, then I can Synchro Summon using the Quan on my opponent's turn and start my Thunder Dragon engine that way. Now, its secondary effect, which it can't be used in the same turn as its first one, is it can be banished from the graveyard to search any Crystron monster from your deck into your hand, okay? And so what makes this such a good starter is that not only can I set up my Thunder Dragon engine with the Quan, you know, sit there for defense, but I can also search another tuner in the next turn. Now, what I was doing this month in December was I removed Thystvern for Rosenix because originally I kept the 2 copies of Gold Sarcophagus in the deck, which meant I had to drop Citree. I dropped Citree for Wattfox, which removed Amatrix from the equation. So that's why I replaced Thystvern with Rosenix, which is level 4 and has that same effect. The first one, which can destroy itself to bring a tuner onto the field. However, its secondary effect is a little different from Thystvern. I can't search a tuner from my deck. It didn't have the same kind of utility. So using that level 4 Rosenix did synergize with Quan to maintain Amatrix in the deck, but it wasn't significant enough to justify the change in the deck. So ultimately I decided that Citree is invaluable to this build of mine, more so than running 2 copies of Gold Sarcophagus. So I returned back to my original build and replaced a Gold Sarcophagus with Aloof Lupine. And I don't really like Aloof Lupine because after using its effect, on turn 1, it's wide open. So like if I open up with, like, let's say Aloof and a bunch of Thunder Dragons, then I have no choice but to normal summon Aloof Lupine. That's another thing I don't like about this card, is that it takes up your normal summon. I can't summon Aloof Lupine and a tuner in the same turn. However, I'm not talking too much trash on this card, otherwise it wouldn't even be in my deck. It's decent. Not bad on turn 2. It also gives me an option to use Quan to summon Amatrix, and I can also use Citree to summon Inzektron, if Aloof Lupine is in the grave. It is ridiculous how well Crystron Quan works in Thunder Dragons. Crazy. Okay, so if you are unfamiliar with Crystron tuners, they specialize in summoning on your opponent's turn. Now, this isn't a Crystron tutorial, but I'm gonna simply explain what this thing can do. Crystron Quan, on the opponent's turn, I can synchro summon any machine type monster using a card in my hand. So for example, Thunder Dragondark. I special summon that card from my hand onto the field, and then I immediately synchro summon into a machine type monster. Now Paladin Zekrom, I've never used Paladin Zekrom on my turn because its full potential is brought out when it's summoned on the opponent's turn. It has such great synergy with Crystron Quan because not only do I get the Paladin Zekrom protecting my life points, and it's not even able to be destroyed by battle if I chain it correctly. Like if I chain it to a Black Rose Dragon and my timing is off, then it could be destroyed. If I summon Paladin Zekrom and the Flip a Fiendish Chain, that negates the effect. But there are a few things the opponent can do to respond to a Paladin Zekrom play. You can just play it right there at the draw at the main phase, because Crystron, Quan, and Citree, they can only use their effects in the main phase or battle phase. You can't use it on the draw phase, unfortunately. But you can use it the moment they lay a card down, just so you can ensure that your life points are protected the entire turn, and you can search a card. Furthermore, if you opened up with Crystron Thystvern and use its effect in turn 1 to summon Crystron Quan, and then use its effect to bring a Dragondark down to the field on your opponent's turn to special summon Paladin Zekrom, protecting yourself from any damage in turn 2, and protecting it from any destruction in battle, then you can search another tuner in turn 3, okay, and use whatever you need. You can search another Quan, and synchro summon that Quan with the Paladin Zekrom to summon Black Rose Dragon. You know, at that point, you've already searched a Hawk or Dragonduo. If you already had Hawk, you can use Hawk to summon something else, make another play. You can use your Thunder Dragon Duo. At that point, the field is wide open. There's so much you can do there. Thanks to this engine here, you know, use your Thystvern, bring in your Quan, protect your life points. You know, search a card, play this. The next turn, search another tuner. Play whatever you need here, okay? And the toolbox is kind of open. I may feel like it's rigid because of the way that I like to play, but I'll get into the toolbox here in a bit. Crystron Quan, excellent card. It also works here with the Dragonroar and the Dragonhawk to special summon Samurai Destroyer on the opponent's turn. That also works, preferably the Thunder Dragon Roar, because that's really what's going to start the engine, get another Thunder Dragon onto the field to potentially be returned to your hand. Then of course, if your opponent destroys it, you get their secondary effect. Now, if Hawk is the only Thunder Dragon in my hand, if I have Quan on the field on my opponent's turn, and I'm forced to summon Samurai Destroyer, I'm likely going to use Thunder Dragon Hawk's effect, unless I have something in my hand that's invaluable for the following turn. I much prefer to use Thunder Dragon Roar to summon the Samurai Destroyer using the Quan. But, you know, there are times where, you know, you don't get the hand that you want, and you may want to use that Thunder Dragon Hawk's effect, or you're just forced to summon just to protect yourself. Crystron Citree, similar to Quan, except it has to target a monster in the graveyard. And not only that, but after the synchro summon resolves, the material is banished. So Citree synergizes with Thunder Dragondark to get Samurai Destroyer onto the field. It can also use Thystvern to summon Amatrix, and I'm sure you're very familiar with that move, with how notorious Crystron's has been this year. However, I only use the Citree in conjunction with the Thystvern for the Amatrix if I'm bricking. And like Thystvern, like if I draw, like let's say I draw 3 Quan and 1 Thystvern, turn 1. I'd have to use Thystvern, break itself, to go into Citree, and hope I can use Amatrix's effect to buy enough time to draw into a Thunder Dragon or a Gold Sarcophagus. If the next turn I draw a Duo, I'm in bad shape. Additionally, Citree and Thystvern for the Amatrix can be a decent combo mid-game when you've already got hitters on the field. And you know, you can just leave it there for the Amatrix play to be used as a backup, just in case you need some kind of debilitation. If your opponent's gaining momentum and get something big onto the field, that can be pretty useful as well. Citree also synergizes with Aloof Lupine to get the Zekrom onto the field. But for the most part, you can also, I want to leave Thystvern in the graveyard so I can make a search. Because usually when I use Thystvern search, I'm going to bring Citree into my hand to maybe use a Hawk to bring Thunder Dragondark onto the field, use the Crystron Citree to maybe summon Zeta or the Black Rose Dragon, and then search my Thunder Dragon Duo that way. For the most part, I'm going to be searching that Citree. I'm not going to use Thystvern to break itself and bring Citree onto the field to use the Amatrix play like we see all the time in Crystrons. Okay, let's wrap this up. I have Forbidden Lance in here, mostly because of the Shiranui era, when you couldn't play anything without getting hit by a trap. It was fantastic. So many Shiranui players just scooped and scooped and scooped once they realized their little trap strategy isn't going to work if I draw into Lance. However, over time, I've also realized that this is a really good card to be used in the damage step as well. It catches people off guard. They don't really expect Forbidden Lance. Great versus Noble Knights. Very decent, versatile card to use for techs. That's why I run 2 copies here. I used to run the World Legacy Clash in earlier builds, but obviously I'm not going to be able to do that with these at 2. Sphere Karibo. Always comes in handy to have that in your hand to stall 1 turn in case your opponent gains some momentum, or if I have that Aloof Lupine in the field and they summon something enormous and try to take me out in 1 hit. Karibo's always good for that. I'm going to leave the EX deck up to your imagination. If I went into every combo this deck could do, the video would be ridiculously long and you'd probably leave before I got halfway through. Just the way it is. You could probably guess why I have most of these in here. Scrap Dragon's really good when I have Thunder Dragonroar on the field, so I can use Crystron Citree searched using the Thystvern as I described earlier. I can special summon the Scrap Dragon, use Thunder Dragonroar's effect to bring a Thunder Dragondark onto the field, use Scrap Dragon's effect to destroy Thunder Dragondark, and break a card that my opponent has on their side of the field, as well as search my Thunder Dragonduo or anything else that I need. Really good combo right there. Amatrix, I explained earlier, and you probably already know how that works through all of the terror that Crystrons have bestowed upon everyone. I got some spicy replays on tap, per usual. Please enjoy them, and I wish you a happy and healthy 2021.
Duel.